All right. Welcome, everyone, to our very first deep dive. I am pumped for this. I love the ocean,
Yeah.
and there are so many cool things about it that I just can't wait to jump into.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be looking at just some awesome ocean facts. So we're not really focusing on any one article, but just kind of a bunch of different sources all about the ocean.
Sounds good.
And the thing that really stood out to me was the fact that we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the ocean here on Earth.
Yeah. That's one of the really crazy things I think that people just don't realize. Like, we have this whole other world basically on our planet, and we know so little about
It's
it.
so vast, and so much of it's unexplored. I mean, over 80%,
Yeah.
which is just mind-blowing when you think about it. Like, what could be down there?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the exciting thing, right? Like, we have no idea what kind of creatures could be living down there, what kind of ecosystems. I mean, there could be entire, like, underwater civilizations that we haven't even discovered yet.
Okay, maybe not civilizations, but who knows? Like, I'm not ruling anything out. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much potential for discovery, and I think that's one of the things that makes the ocean so fascinating.
Absolutely. And it's not just about, finding, like, these crazy new creatures or anything like that. I mean, studying these unexplored areas can also teach us so much about, like, how life evolved on Earth, how ecosystems function under extreme conditions,
Oh yeah, for sure.
and, how climate change is impacting the ocean. Like, it's a huge, living laboratory that we have right here.
It really is. And speaking of extreme environments, we can't talk about the ocean without mentioning the Mariana Trench.
Yeah. The deepest part of the ocean.
It's the deepest point on Earth. I mean, it's almost 36,000 feet deep, which is just insane.
Yeah.
Like, to put that into perspective, Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth, is only about 29,000 feet high.
Right.
So you could literally fit Mount Everest inside the Mariana Trench and still have, like, a mile of water on top of it.
Yeah, and the pressure at that depth is just unimaginable. It's over 1,000 times the pressure we experience at sea level.
I can't even fathom it.
It's like if you took like 100 elephants and stacked them all on top of each other.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of pressure we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think anything could survive that.
Well, surprisingly, some things can. There are actually creatures that have adapted to live in that kind of extreme environment.
Really? Like what?
Well, there are these things called xenophyophores, which are like these single-celled organisms that are like some of the largest single-celled organisms on Earth.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy, and they can withstand those immense pressures and the cold and the darkness. It's pretty remarkable.
Life finds a way, right?
It really does.
Okay, so this next fact, I actually didn't know this until I was doing research for this deep dive, and it blew my mind.
Okay, lay it on me.
Are you ready for this? The ocean produces between 50 and 80% of the oxygen we breathe.
I mean, everyone knows that trees are important for oxygen, but the ocean is like the real MVP.
I know, right? I always thought like the Amazon rainforest was like the lungs of the earth, but it's actually the ocean.
Yeah, and it's all thanks to these tiny little plants called phytoplankton.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those.
They live near the surface of the ocean, and just like plants on land, they use sunlight to photosynthesize, and that process creates oxygen as a byproduct. And because phytoplankton are so abundant in the ocean, they're responsible for producing the majority of the oxygen on Earth.
It's pretty amazing when you think about how something so small can have such a huge impact on our planet.
It really is, and it just goes to show how interconnected everything is,
For sure. Okay, so we've talked about the deep, dark depths of the ocean and the tiny little phytoplankton that produce our oxygen. But what about the biggest animal on Earth?
Ah, yes. The blue whale.
I mean, these things are just massive.
Yeah, they can grow up to 100 feet long.
Which is longer than a school bus.
Yeah, and weigh over 200 tons.
That's like the weight of a Boeing 747 airplane.
Well, it's just mind-boggling how big these animals are.
And they're not just big. They're also incredibly intelligent and social creatures.
Yeah, they communicate with each other using these complex songs.
Oh yeah, their songs.
They can travel for hundreds of miles underwater.
And they have these really intricate social structures and family groups.
It's really fascinating.
Sure.
And despite their size and their, kind of iconic status, we still know relatively little about them.
There's still so much to learn.
Yeah. Like their migration patterns, how they navigate the vast ocean depths.
Yeah, their breeding habits.
There's still a lot of mysteries surrounding these gentle giants.
Speaking of mysteries, have you ever heard of underwater waterfalls?
Underwater waterfalls.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that even work?
Well, it's not like a traditional waterfall with water cascading over rocks.
Right.
But it's more like a density current.
Oh, okay.
So basically, when you have cold, dense water, often from melting glaciers, it meets warmer, less dense water. the colder water sinks, creating this kind of underwater cascade.
Oh, wow.
And there's one in the Denmark Strait between Greenland and Iceland.
Okay.
That's 3 times taller than Angel Falls, which is the tallest waterfall on land.
So it's like a massive underwater waterfall.
Yeah, that's incredible. I've never even heard of that before.
It's one of those things that, just makes you realize how much we still don't know about the ocean.
Yeah, for sure.
And, as amazing as all this is, it's also important to remember that the ocean is facing a lot of threats right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Climate change, pollution, overfishing.
All of these things are having a serious impact on marine life and on the health of the ocean as a whole.
And ultimately that impacts us too. The ocean provides us with so much
Yeah.
oxygen, food
It
resources.
regulates our climate.
It's essential to life on Earth.
And if we don't start taking better care of it, we're going to face some pretty dire consequences.
Yeah. So I think it's really important for us to, not just appreciate the beauty and wonder of the ocean, but also to understand the challenges it's facing and to do what we can to protect it.
Absolutely. Well said. I think that's a great note to end on.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on our first deep dive. We hope you learned something new and that you're feeling inspired to learn more about the ocean.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive into a new topic.
Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep wondering.